E-bikes are modern bikes with modern terminology, so this is our jargon buster for electric mountain bikes. Amps, the amount of electrical current that passes a given point over a given time, not to be confused with pumped or stoked. Anti-squat. Now, squatting in simple terms is when you apply power to the chain of the bike. It sometimes forces the rear suspension to compress, and that isn't good for climbing. So anti-squat is how the suspension is configured to try and control that. This is really important with an e-bike when you want to transfer that power efficiently to the floor and you want that bike to keep its shape. Boost. Now this is wider axle spacing on your hubs, so 10mm wider on the front at 110, 6mm wider at the back at 148. That actually increases the spoke bracing angle, which means that your wheels are going to be stiffer, and it's used on almost all e-bikes. Cadence. This is the rate at which you're spinning the pedals. Some motors give you really good support no matter how fast or slow you're spinning the pedals, like Bros or Shimano. Other motors like Yamaha work really well when you're pushing lower revolutions. CHAINSUCK, the dragging or jabbing of your chain against that front sprocket, against your chainstay. This is especially prevalent on e-bikes with a smaller front sprocket. Now the way to fix this is by either keeping your chain very clean and lubed, or by using some ghetto tech like our viewers have used. Current. A flow of electricity, and it refers to the amount of electrical energy being used. You can adjust the level of current using some apps like the mission control on the Specialized system. Drive unit. This is the motor, and here at EMBN we solely use mid-drive motors, which are located around the bottom bracket of the bike. There are other versions available like hub drive and bolt-on motors. The most popular motor manufacturers are Bosch, Bros, Shimano and Yamaha. Decoupling, the ease at which you can pedal beyond the 25 kph limit of the motor. In Bros, for example, it's really easy. It uses a double freewheel system, so you can pedal virtually resistance-free above that 25 kph limit. For something like a Bosch, there is some internal friction in that motor that does make it a little bit harder. Eco, the power mode used by riders who want to get the most riding out of their battery. Personally, I use it as a reserve fuel mode, so when I know that I'm running out of battery, I use this one to get me home. E-bike specific. Now, many manufacturers are starting to make e-bike specific components to deal with the extra weight, power and use of an e-bike. Things like chains, wheels and even suspension can have different internals to be optimized for the weight of an e-bike. Geometry, the geometric parameters of a bike. In simple terms, it's the shape and the angles of the bike. So don't think that just a motor and a battery make a great bike. The geometry will make a huge difference. And it differs for different types of riding. For example, a downhill bike, you want to be slack with a fairly long wheelbase, whereas cross country, you want a steeper and shorter bike, arguably. Hydroforming. High pressure liquids and molds are used to create complex shapes in metal, such as aluminium bike frames, just like this high bike and Specialized Kenevo frames. Integration. Motor and battery manufacturers are increasingly eager to make smaller, more compact units that will actually be designed to fit into frames that use classic eMTB geometry. The batteries disappear into the frames and the motors almost become part of it, so it doesn't compromise the look or the handling of the bike. Lockout. Bike and suspension manufacturers have gone to extreme lengths to make mountain bikes climb more efficiently. But on e-bikes, it can mean wheel bounce, which means wasted energy and the loss of grip on the hardest of climbs. Plus size. Now these are chunky tyres, so from about 2.6 to about 3 inches wide, that offer good compliance and grip and are found on most e-bikes. Pedelec. This describes the type of e-bikes that we're talking about here on EMBN. An electric bike where the rider must pedal for the motor to run, pedal assist, no throttle and limited to 25 kilometers an hour. Q factor. Now this is a measurement of the crankset width from the outside of the pedal inserts, basically how far your feet stand on the bike, and this is wider than most normal bikes due to the motor. Support. The mode button on your e-bike determines how much support the motor gives you. For example, on a Bosch motor, Eco gives you 50% support, whereas Turbo gives you 300. Software. E-Tube for Shimano, Mission Control for Specialized. They're great ways to adjust and customize the power outputs, check for firmware updates and servicing needs, but also be used for planning rides and getting stats on your rides. Speed sensor. The device that detects the rate of pedaling and is used to activate power from the motor, usually a magnet attached to the rear wheel. Turbo. This is the maximum level of assist on an e-bike, also called boost. Use it prudently if you want to keep hold of your battery. Walk assist. A mode that helps you push the bike by spinning the rear wheel, especially useful on really steep, unrideable climbs, and they also let you change gear before you want to get back on the bike. Watts, a measure of power. Basically how hard you're having to work to power the bike, and it comes from your legs and through the motor. The more power you put into the pedals, the faster you go. You might be able to hold 200 or 300 watts for an hour physically, and your bike will also give you 250. Max powers can be up to 2000 watts from a serious athlete, and a peak of up to 600 watts from the motor. Watt hour, basically how big your battery capacity is. 500 watt hours is about the average. A battery with more watt hours will get you further, but also way more. On a bike with 250 watts of power, a 500 watt hour battery will last about 2 hours of constant smooth pedaling on full power setting. Don't forget that the motor will peak much higher than 250 watts, so aggressive riding will burn through it quicker. So there's some jargon busted. Hopefully that's going to help you out. But if you've got any more queries, leave them in the comments section down below and we'll try and get back to you on those. If you want to see a video about motor fundamentals, click up there and hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up.